massive fire erupts in one displaced camp in Ma'rib and causes serious damage. The United Nations intensifies diplomatic efforts to revive the truce in Yemen. Iran continues to fuel the conflict in Yemen by supporting Houthis with weapons. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Roshan Fouad. A massive fire broke out in one displaced camp in Ma'rib and caused serious damage to 4 families. Yemen Today TV correspondent in Ma'rib reported that a fire broke out in a Ramsa camp in Ma'rib, destroying the tents of 4 families and their contents. The camp residents complained about the negligence of humanitarian organizations and the denial of all services provided by the executive unit and relief organizations. Authorities in Turkey and Syria announced that the number of the earthquake victims has risen to more than 11,000 dead. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization says fatalities could reach as high as 20,000 in the coming days. 8,574 people were confirmed dead in Turkey, and authorities reported that 41,000 were injured after the biggest natural disaster to strike the region in decades. More than 2,600 people are also confirmed dead in Syria, according to reports from the government and civil defense officials. The United Nations Special Envoy met in Aden with the head of the Presidential Council. The meeting comes along with the international community moves to push for a truce renewal in the country. This report has more details.
Diplomatic efforts to bring peace to Yemen have resumed activity at the beginning of this year, although the Houthi militia leaves no room for optimism about the fruitful results of efforts aimed at a political settlement of the tragic crisis in Yemen. President Rashad al-Alimi renewed the government's commitment to a just and a comprehensive peace process. During his meeting in Aden with the United Nations Special Envoy Hans Grundberg, al-Alimi confirmed keenness of the government to provide all facilities to achieve peace and security. He warned of the repercussions of the Houthi terrorist militia's measures against the private sector, the activities of the chambers of commerce, the freedom of movement of people and goods between the provinces. He called for a strict stance from the international institutions to reduce the human suffering out from the Houthi violations. The new round of efforts also includes a visit by United States envoy Tim Lunderking, during which he will hold a number of meetings in the region. The American Special Envoy for Yemen, Tim Lunderking, started a regional visit to Saudi Arabia, Oman, and the UAE. He will continue concerted United States diplomatic efforts with the United Nations, regional and international partners to advance comprehensive and inclusive peace process. The Special Envoy Lunderking will urge the parties to seize the opportunity to intensify their engagement with the United Nations to launch a Yemeni political process that could durably end the war. During his trip, the U.S. Special Envoy will also encourage donors to give generously this year to fund life-saving aid for Yemenis as part of the United Nations Humanitarian Response Plan. Diplomatic sources confirmed, however, the Houthis' refusal to exchange concessions with the government and the coalition over the humanitarian files set as an entry point to the expanded truce. These sources added that the militia insists on lifting all restrictions imposed on Sana'a Airport and the port of Hodeida and financing the budget for the salaries of state employees from the coalition.
Government forces announced that they had shot down a Houthi drone in Bakim district inside the governorate northern Yemen. The commander of the operations of the Arab Axis, Brigadier General Faris Majalli, confirmed that after examining the parts of the Houthi drone, it became clear that it was Iranian-made. Iran continues to fuel the conflict in Yemen by supporting the Houthis with weaponry. The U.S. Navy has seized different shipments of arms in the Gulf of Oman meant to the Houthis. This report has more details.
Over 3,000 assault rifles, more than 500,000 rounds of missiles, and 23 anti-tank guided arms were confiscated. This is a shipment sent from Iran to the Houthi rebels in an attempt to take over Yemen. But luckily, French special forces apprehended them in the Gulf of Oman last month in collaboration with the U.S. military. This isn't the only incident, as last January, a vessel carrying 2,100 assault rifles from Iran bound for Yemen was intercepted by U.S. forces. In December, the Navy also seized a boat carrying 1,400 AK-47 rifles and more than 200,000 rounds of missiles. Nobody really knows how many of these shipments made it into the hands of the Houthi rebels. However, the insurgents have enough firepower to hold much of western Yemen, including the capital Sana'a. According to a UN report, traffickers are using a land route stretching from the eastern border to reach the Houthis. They also use naval routes used by Iranian smuggling networks. In addition, the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet apprehended a fishing vessel smuggling huge amounts of explosive material while transiting from Iran through using a route in the Gulf of Oman, used to transfer weapons to the Houthis in November. Since the United Nations-backed truce ended last October, and despite the UN's imposed arms embargo on the Houthis, Iran still continues to intensify its arms smuggling operations to the Houthi militia. The weapons supplied by Iran to the Houthi rebels has led to the destruction of almost every part of Yemen. The country has been suffering from an ongoing conflict since the war erupted in 2014. 9 years of violence, corruption, and suffering. According to the United Nations, Yemen has become one of the world's worst humanitarian crises, with more than tens of thousands of civilian casualties. This non-ending cycle only keeps increasing, with no international actions taken against the Houthi rebels.
Two officers were killed when an explosive device exploded targeting military east of Abyan Governorate. According to military sources, the explosive device was planted on the side of a road in a village, and it exploded while a vehicle they were on was passing by. The sources pointed out that the explosion resulted in the injury of at least 5 soldiers, with varying degrees of injury. Clashes renewed between government forces and the Houthi militia on north and west of Taiz Governorate. Government forces targeted gatherings of the Houthi militia on one of the fronts of Taiz Governorate. Military sources stated that the artillery of the government forces shelled reinforcements and gatherings of the rebel militia militant on the western front of the city. A woman was killed when a Houthi mine exploded north of Al Bayda Governorate. Local sources said that a woman was killed in the explosion of a camouflaged mine laid by the Houthi militia in the populated area. The Houthi-laid mines have killed and injured thousands of civilians, destroyed and damaged hundreds of vehicles, and killed livestock. The Houthi militia laid mines randomly without differentiating between military and civilian sites. According to the human rights reports, more than 2 million mines have been laid by the rebel militia, killing and injuring more than 20,000 civilians. Massam Project is making efforts to dismantle minefields. This report has more details.
Massam Project Manager has arrived in Aden and the West Coast on a periodic visit to check on the progress of the work of Massam's engineering teams. He held several meetings with the project experts to review reports of the achievement made by Massam demining teams during the past period, as well as the level of performance development. He also held a separate meeting with the director of the Yemen Executive Mine Action Center and the director of the Executive Office for Mine Action in Aden. They discussed the difficulties faced by Massam teams and the solutions required to facilitate their field work in a way that serves the project's goals of securing the lives of civilians and clearing their agricultural lands and properties of the mines that have been intensively and randomly planted across Yemeni territory. During the visit, the Deputy Minister highlighted how the project is one of the most important humanitarian projects operating in Yemen, and its impact has been felt by hundreds of thousands of Yemenis. They also discussed ways to bolster the role of humanitarian organizations working in the field of demining and enhancing mine risk education and awareness, given its importance in raising societal conscience of the dangers of mines and ways to avoid them. He pointed out that all Massam teams working in over 8 Yemeni governorates continue to conduct awareness-raising campaigns, along with their clearance work in all the areas where they are deployed. He stressed the importance of establishing and activating official channels concerned with documenting and surveying mine victims in Yemen, as well as issuing semi-periodic official reports to explain the crimes perpetrated by Houthi mines against civilians.
Coming next. The Houthi militia increases violations against civilians in the Al-Jawf Governorate.
ناس ندي ماء من الغل والغلط بعيد، كنا ندي بالدواب نعبي الماء ورجعنا. ننزل الساعة 5 رجعنا الساعة 9.
ما يجي لنا ظهر لأن زحمة ما حد يخلي الجهل يغرق، وإحنا تعبنا زيادة.
وكنت أحس صدري يوجعني وعزق ركبي يوجعيني.
كنا ما نستخدم حتى نغسل أولادنا إلا يعني بأيام معدودة.
كنت أغيب على المدرسة لما كنت أروح الديمة.
حتى وإن كان يجي الأمطار تروح هدر لأنه ما في معي غزال.
الوقت نشتري ب30,000 هي مع هستيلك ما يغلقش معها الشهر.
بس راح تطلب الله ولا أي حاجة، عاملة كل شغلك على الماء.
Welcome back. In Al-Jawf Governorate, the Houthi militia is continuing its violations against civilians. The international community should put more pressure on the militia and its Iranian allies to abide by peace.
It has been 3 years of the non-stop Houthi violations against civilians in Al-Jawf Governorate. They used all kinds of brutal repression without any external international pressures that limit these crimes against innocent citizens. The Houthi militia makes life more difficult for people, as it has made living inside the city very difficult, full of fear and panic as a result of the inhumane repression by force of arms, while basic services are almost not available.
نعم الانتهاكات موجودة وباستمرار. Houthi
violations continue in Al-Jawf Governorate. They harness the needs of people for the benefit, and people have no entity left because we are under their control. The Houthis financially extort landowners and threaten them at harvest time. Landmines are widespread and indiscriminate, and the victims were cars with families inside them, as well as livestock and nomadic Bedouins.
Recently, the Human Rights and Media Committee in El Jouf monitored wholesale violations committed by militia members during the year 2022. As the total violations amounted to 7,553 violations distributed between killing and injury to landmines, while the losses of citizens in vehicles amounted to about 54 cars that were destroyed directly through live fire or landmines victims. In addition to the collapse of the education system, which caused the closure of more than 100 schools and the deprivation of more than 4,800 male and female students from education, and hundreds of male and female teachers stopped teaching. Also, health services are not provided for the citizens, as the militia allocated the services of Al Jouf General Hospital to its fighters. The number of displaced of Khob and Shaf district and the people of Madab Dhu Muhammad region has reached about 1,300 people.
The Houthi coup militia continues to violate the rights of citizens. The report prepared by the Rights and Media Committee in the province stated all different of crimes. They displace hundreds of families in Madab area after demolishing the homes. Those militias continue to build prisons, as well as impose deductions and levies, stop providing services and prevent oil derivatives to sell them in the black market.
Houthi crimes against the residents of Al Jouf escalate with each year, whether with the basic needs of diesel and gas, which reached to dozens of times their purchasing value, in addition to raising the prices of electricity bills, which amounted to 200 riyals per kilowatt, while its previous value did not exceed 30 riyals per kilowatt. And it also caused economic damage to farmers after it cut off the public electricity network in the districts of Al-Hazm, Al-Khalq and Al-Ghail, and prevented the supply of diesel in all districts, as the farmers were on the verge of the harvest season after incurring large losses during the season, and the number of affected farms is estimated at 25 farms, which are considered a source of income for many citizens. Between these crimes and the government's failure to liberate the government, the people of Al Jouf live under great threats, and the gap of which is widening day after another.
A report by the Yemeni authorities revealed that there are more than 3 million displaced people distributed in 13 governorates. The report stated that the number of displaced families in the liberated governorates amounted to 490,000, with a total of more than 3 million people. Ma'rib governorate ranked first with the presence of more than 2,200,000 displaced people. The International Organization for Migration stated that security concerns were the main cause of most internal displacement in Yemen over the past year. The organization added that economic reasons related to the conflict represents 12% of the total displacement drivers, while the natural disasters forced only 3% of the total displaced families to leave their home. Here is a reminder of the main headlines. A massive fire erupts in one displaced camp in Ma'rib and causes serious damage. The United Nations intensifies diplomatic efforts to revive the truce in Yemen. Iran continues to fuel the conflict in Yemen by supporting Houthis with weapons. This is the end of the news. It was Roshan Fouad. Thank you for watching.